Before designing controls for an AI system, we need one critical answer: who could be affected and how seriously? In this session, we'll connect impact, stakeholders, and architecture, so governance becomes practical, evidence-based, and ready for certification. We've already established the ISO IEC 42001 foundation and introduced risk management from an architect's perspective. Now we move one step further into impact assessment. The focus shifts from spotting risks to understanding who is affected, how serious the consequences could be, and what evidence governance teams need. Impact assessment is the bridge between identifying AI risk and deciding which controls are actually needed. A risk label like high is not enough. ISO IEC 42001 expects organizations to understand who may be affected, which business processes could be disrupted, which legal duties apply, and what technical safeguards are required. That understanding drives practical choices: governance, system design, validation evidence, documentation, and ongoing monitoring. It also makes decisions defensible, because the organization can show its intended use, assumptions, stakeholder effects, and treatment rationale. Risk assessment and impact assessment are connected, but they answer different design questions. Risk assessment looks at uncertainty: what could go wrong, how likely it is, and how severe the event might be. Impact assessment looks more closely at consequences: who is affected, how harm or benefit appears, and which legal, ethical, safety, or operational obligations follow. For solution architects, this shift matters. It shapes how deep controls must be, where system boundaries sit, when humans need oversight, and what evidence is needed for approval. An impact assessment is only as strong as its inputs. Begin by defining why the AI exists, where it will operate, and what outcome the business expects. Then map who uses it, who relies on it, and who may be affected indirectly. From there, judge how critical the decision is, how much autonomy the system has, and whether the data or operating environment creates safety concerns. Finally, capture legal, regulatory, contractual, ethical, and reputational implications. This structure turns risk review from opinion into evidence and makes assessments repeatable across teams, systems, and lifecycle stages. Intended purpose is the control point for an AI system. It defines what the system is approved to do, which users it serves, and which environments it may operate in. That clarity helps prevent scope creep. It also helps identify foreseeable misuse, uses that are tempting, possible, or risky, even if nobody officially approved them. Be explicit about the role of the output. Is it advisory, assistive, decision support, or fully decision-making? Each role carries different governance expectations. Finally, connect the purpose to the aim scope, inventory, and architecture, so the assessment matches the real system. When assessing an AI system, do not stop with the people who log in and use it. The impact chain is wider. Operators and decision makers may rely on outputs, but subjects and beneficiaries live with the consequences. Indirectly affected groups can matter too, especially when decisions shape access to jobs, care, credit, services, or public resources. Good assessments ask who gains, who bears risk, who may be vulnerable, and who has less power. They also check whether people can understand the AI role, challenge outcomes, appeal decisions, or opt out when appropriate. Risk often increases along two dimensions: decision criticality and system autonomy. A chatbot suggesting report wording is very different from a model approving credit, scheduling medical care, or controlling equipment. As autonomy rises, human involvement shifts from direct review to supervision to exception-based oversight, and finally to automated action. Each step demands stronger controls: guardrails before the decision, escalation when confidence drops, audit trails after the decision, and real override authority. The key governance question is not, can AI decide? It is, how much consequence follows if it is wrong? A strong impact assessment looks beyond the model and asks where harm could occur. First, classify the data: personal information, regulated records, trade secrets, or other sensitive content. Next, examine the setting. Could an output influence safety, security, healthcare, employment, money, public services, or legal rights? Then test the legal and ethical dimensions: bias, consent, transparency, explainability, accountability, and the ability to challenge decisions. The result is not just a label. It is a control plan for protection, testing, human review, and evidence. Higher sensitivity or impact means stronger safeguards, clearer ownership, and more rigorous documentation before deployment. Accountability mapping turns AI governance from a vague shared concern into named responsibilities. Identify who owns the business purpose, expected value, acceptance criteria, and release decisions. Then identify who owns the model and data, performance, quality, lineage, limitations, and change control. Compliance, security, privacy, and risk teams should be tied to specific review points and approval gates, not consulted only at the end. Include users and external providers as well, because third-party models, APIs, datasets, and platforms can create obligations outside your direct team. The goal is simple. Every lifecycle decision has an accountable owner. A RACI makes those responsibilities operational. Start by naming one accountable owner, often the business owner or AI system owner, who has decision authority. Then identify who is responsible for doing the work: product, architecture, data science, model risk, or governance teams. Bring in consulted voices where expertise or rights are affected, such as privacy, security, legal, compliance, domain experts, and stakeholder representatives. Finally, define who must be informed when impact levels, approvals, or monitoring results change. No assessment task should have unclear ownership or silent stakeholders. Impact classification should not be a label that sits in a register. It should drive design choices. As impact rises, the architecture needs stronger human oversight, clearer explanations, more complete documentation, and tougher testing before release. It also needs more frequent monitoring after deployment, because failures matter more. Approval gates should match the risk, especially when a system affects safety, rights, legal status, or critical operations. The key discipline is traceability. Connect the assessment result to specific controls, audit logs, fallback paths, escalation workflows, and evidence that those controls keep working. Good AI governance is not one size fits all. The control environment should grow with the system's potential impact. For low-impact uses, basic documentation, standard testing, and light monitoring may be enough. Medium-impact systems need clearer accountability, including human oversight, validated performance, stakeholder review, and periodic reassessment. High-impact systems demand stronger evidence and stronger gates, explainability, audit trails, independent review, robust monitoring, and formal approval before deployment or major change. The goal is balance. Too little control creates unmanaged risk. Too much control slows delivery without improving safety. Proportional scaling keeps governance focused where it matters most. Consider an AI tool that triages loan applications. It suggests priority, risk category, and needed documents, but it does not make the final decision. Because the system affects financial access and uses sensitive personal data, the assessment flags bias, regulation, explainability, and auditability. Stakeholders expand beyond the product team to compliance, security, legal, model owners, loan officers, applicants, and vendors. Those findings translate directly into controls: human approval, bias testing, monitoring, appeals, audit logs, and a formal release gate. The key lesson is that governance becomes real only when assessment results drive decisions. Start with purpose, users, affected parties, risk factors, and data sensitivity. Then assign clear accountability across business, technical, compliance, security, and provider roles. As impact rises, strengthen oversight, evidence, testing, monitoring, and approvals. Next, we turn these responsibilities into policy, operating structures, and ISO 42001 alignment.